Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. And welcome to another edition of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. I'm your host, Ken M. Sitting across me this week is the one, the only, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And returning to the podcast, you know him from the comics blog, it's the Bry Guy Signal.
I'm back, bitches.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss. Let's waste no more time. Hashtag ODPHEE. The biggest news story of the week has to be the released photos from Marvel Comics' newest film, Captain Marvel, coming out March 2019. Thoughts around the panel?
Looks really good. I like the look of things. I'm hard to get a vibe of what the movie's going to be like from it or anything. You got to kind of wait for a trailer, I feel, but I like the way it looks.
I would go it the same way. From what I've seen, I really like her costume design. We also got we got an image of the Skrull, who are actually in costume, which kind of hopefully will mean they're doing a lot of practical effects for the movie versus CGI characters. So I'm always a fan of that. I definitely prefer practical over CGI.
Absolutely. From the photos that we saw that were released via Entertainment Weekly, we see Brie Larson in her full Captain Marvel costume, the red and blue, the traditional costume that we see in the comics. We also see what looks to be a flashback sequence, almost, with a green and black costume, and she looks to be standing around an army. And we see Ronan the Accuser, played by Lee Pace, if you remember him from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. We see them, kind of having an interaction, and like we previously mentioned, we finally see the Skrulls make their appearance in the MCU, albeit they're coming out of the water, it appears to be, like of a beach sequence, like almost like an invasion type angle. I wonder if it's supposed to be a secret invasion.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun. See what I did there. And we also see a shot of Jude Law, who is playing Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel, with Brie Larson in a photo of, we're not exactly sure, but they're staring into what appears to be imminent danger of some sort. And we also see just kind of a casual photo of Brie Larson in a hat of S.H.I.E.L.D. logo and the Nine Inch Nails t-shirt with a traditional bomber jacket. I am very excited from what I've seen. It definitely has a 90s feel to it.
Yeah, I'm looking at this photo of Nick Fury in the movie, which it's the description from entertainmentweekly.com and their photo gallery they've got up. It says, at this point, Nick is a lowly S.H.I.E.L.D. desk jockey who hasn't yet met any superheroes. He's younger than we've ever seen him. It says Jackson was digitally de-aged for the role, and perhaps most shocking of all, he's missing his signature eye patch. He does. Now, he has a cut above his left, our right eye with some bandages over. I gotta say, they did a good job de-aging him just from this photo alone, because this photo of Sam Jackson looks like straight 90s Sam Jackson.
I was going to say, it looks like he's on the set of Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the CGI that they've done to de-age him looks amazing. That you would almost think it's as real life as possible.
Yeah.
And to like we said, the movie is going to be set in the 90s, and we were describing with how Brie Larson was just casually dressed in the jeans and the bomber jacket and the Nine Inch Nails t-shirt. I mean, it just has that feel to it that this is going to be set way before the MCU was really the MCU.
Right.
I will say the one thing I'm a little disappointed in the photos is there's rumors Phil Coulson is going to be in the movie, and I was hoping we'd see a picture of him.
Oh, we're going to see him at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been confirmed for the film. So to see him where he would be in this stage, I mean, he was nowhere near being the director that we know him as from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So we're going to kind of see him, working his way up the ranks, I would imagine.
I'm going to say if Fury's not the director, then Coulson's sure as hell not going to be.
Right, and I can understand them not exactly putting Phil Coulson in this photo set, because you look at it, ever since Phil Coulson died and then came back to life on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., fans have wanted him back in the movies for a number of years, and this is his, albeit time travel, and it's before, Avengers and all that, but still, he's returning to the big screen. Fans have wanted to see him back on the big screen for a long time. Why give that to you so far out from the movie? Gotta hold your interest for it.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if you go back to Avengers 1.
Yeah.
He is the heart and soul of that movie. He is the reason that they all formed together, so to speak. I mean, they were put together, but they didn't become a team until after he was killed off at the time by Loki.
Yeah, they had to put aside their differences, and Coulson's death was the catalyst that brought that around.
Yeah, so, I mean, to say how significant he is to the MCU, I mean, it's understated.
Plus, he's a complete fanboy when he meets Captain America.
Yep.
He's like, could you sign my, they're limited edition trading cards. Could you sign them for me?
I can see him being in a scene in this movie where it's like him trying to barter with somebody who's got like one of the more rare cap cards, and he's like offering up stupid amounts of stuff for it just to complete the set.
Absolutely.
I'd be okay with that.
I could fully see that. I mean, how are they going to write him into the film?
Sure.
You know it's going to be complete Coulson, just top to bottom. Just, the character, you're not going to see anything drastic. I can't really see him, flipping 180 on this.
No.
By any means. And just overall, though, like I said, we haven't seen a trailer yet. I imagine one is going to be coming very shortly.
Yeah, I would imagine probably, if I had to take a ballpark guess, and this is just guessing, probably sometime late October, early November, at a guess.
That would make sense for a first teaser, and then like January probably would see a full trailer.
Yeah.
I'll even go out on a limb. I'll
Okay.
make an unofficial ODPHEE guess.
Okay.
We'll see a teaser trailer at New York Comic Con,
Okay.
and we will see the trailer
Okay.
on Super Bowl night,
Oh, okay.
because they usually have a Jimmy Kimmel episode
Yeah.
after the Super Bowl. I imagine we'll see the trailer then.
That would make a lot of sense. You look at the biggest audience of the year in terms of television ratings with the Super Bowl, plus the Jimmy Kimmel thing afterwards. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And showing it at teaser at New York Comic Con would also make a lot of sense, because I believe I don't know if it was the teaser or a full blown trailer, but they released a trailer of some sorts for Pacific Rim 2 last year at New York Comic Con.
I was going to say, my only thing with that is you said the movie's coming out March,
Yeah.
and Super Bowl's start of February?
Second week of February.
That might be pushing it, just depending on when they're doing it in March. If it's early March, they might wait. If it's later March, then the Super Bowl would make sense. But I just feel like you really might be you might want to build interest a little more.
It might not be Super Bowl, but it could be one of the playoff games.
I could definitely.
I could see that one. That might work
I'll say
better.
playoffs. I'll take that back then, because I completely forgot it's coming out first week of March.
Now,
so.
if it was like May, I'd be like, yeah, Super Bowl. Would
I
be
can see
perfect for
it being one of the championship games for either side of the NFL, because you got to figure there are going to be big crowds watching that, and plus it's what middle towards the end of January when that happens.
Or they could release it around the NBA Christmas Day schedule.
Yeah, there's that too. There's definitely a lot of high viewer opportunities later. there.
So basically, we're looking at first full trailer, end of the year, or start of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point. I mean, there's just so much, perfect moments that they can place, because right after Captain Marvel is coming out, Avengers 4 is coming.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So that actually might be the Super Bowl one, and I'll retract my statement.
Okay.
That I'll say Avengers 4 we'll see around Super Bowl. We'll see Captain Marvel around NBA Christmas time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to stick with. So, I take back what I say. It's my show. I can do this. So, that being said, though, going back to the photos, and going back to one especially that I know when the original photos were released, or at least leaked out at some degree, that we saw Captain Marvel in a teal and black costume.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at how the color scheme has changed, I'm almost wondering if this is like a rank in the Kree military system.
That could be.
That would make sense, that now she is a captain, as where she would start as, a lower ranking officer. Because you see that everybody that she is around in this photo is wearing the same costume.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that might be, and then, obviously we'll find out when the movie comes along that Captain Marvel, has a color scheme to their outfit, whoever is male or female.
Yeah, because Ronan himself, who is a Kree, he's wearing a similar outfit that it's like, okay, yeah, they're probably like the same level, and then something happens and they go their separate ways.
Mm-hmm. Which, well, like I said, we're going to see a lot of that in the movie, I feel. And then especially that we're seeing the Skrulls. And as I teased a little bit before, it looks like they're doing a secret invasion almost.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you know anything about Marvel Comics history, there is a very big crossover event that they did a few years back where the Skrulls were trying to take over planet Earth, and they were secretly disguised as some of Earth's mightiest heroes. And they had been like sleeper agents all this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unique story that maybe we'll see that as the next big story arc after the Avengers Infinity Saga is wrapped up.
And they're definitely teasing something if you look at the photo gallery on entertainmentweekly.com, where it says, quote, "The film also introduces one of Marvel Comics' nastiest and most notorious baddies, the Skrulls. Ben Mendelsohn plays their leader, Talos, seen here in all his bright green glory. But he's got another face too, ...
I was going to say, my big thing is, like, as you said, they got to do something to follow up Infinity War, because if you've been following, some people are concerned. It's like, okay, after Infinity War, could the MCU probably like have outdone themselves? Like, is there going to be something they can top it? And that's the thing. Is like people are a little worried that the movie start to slack off a little. Like they just might not be as big into building for something.
See, I think that would have been the case, and that concern would have been totally justified had the Fox deal not been going on, because I know we've said this before, with the Fox deal going through and them getting a hold of the Fantastic Four characters and the X-Men characters, I know we've said this before off air at movie theaters, you're kind of going through all your great stories now, throwing them in and bringing them into the fold, however they do it, whenever they do it, because we don't know, the deal hasn't gone through yet. It's like a fresh breath of air or life into the body of the MCU, because all of a sudden you're not just constrained to Iron Man stories and Cap stories and the stories with them in it. You all of a sudden go, hey, we got a lot of people in the X-Men we can use. We got a fair amount of stories with the Fantastic Four to do. I think they're wide open now.
All I know is just, not to cut you off, Ken, just as you mentioned X-Men, if they try, I don't care who they do in the MCU. If it's not Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine, I don't think it's ever going to top him.
No, I think if anything, if Hugh Jackman doesn't want the role anymore, because he said he was done after Logan. Obviously, this changes things with the whole Marvel, Disney, Fox deal. If he doesn't want to come back, I'd like to see him come back as Old Man Logan, just as the comic version.
Sure,
I'd like to see that. But I also feel what they're going to do is they could do Secret Invasion if they really are going to push the cosmic element in the next Marvel phase. I don't know exactly how that's going to go over. And one thing I will say, and I think I can confirm this without any real sources, we're going to see the normal Skrulls, the normal shapeshifters. We will not see the Super Skrull, who has the powers of the Fantastic Four.
That would make sense. You haven't introduced the Fantastic Four yet. You're just introducing the Skrulls. It would make sense to introduce Super Skrulls yet.
Right. So I think that we can clear up that rumor unofficially.
Right.
But, hey, if I'm wrong, and I apologize in advance. But either way, I think that that's going to be the direction they go in. And now with the Fantastic Four coming over, the X-Men coming over, there is a lot of different stories they can go with. One of which I'd love to see is Secret Wars.
Right.
I'd love to see that come on screen. I don't know if it's going to happen.
I know the one that's been thrown around a couple times, not anything official or speculation or guessing. It's just hey, I want to see this. Avengers vs. X-Men.
They would, but I don't know if they do it off the bat.
Probably not. There'd be some setup to it.
Yeah, if you opened up with that, I don't think it would go very well. Like, it would probably be like a build-up like Civil War almost. You're hinting at the X-Men and the mutants aren't getting along with the rest of the world, and then you see it happen, and it's like, okay, you built up for this. You hinted this was coming.
Yeah, because
not just, X-Men have joined. X-Men versus Avengers. Opening movie. Really?
I mean, if this was Fox running things in the 90s, that'd be the case.
Probably.
Well, maybe. But, the thing about it is that they're going to have a lot more leeway to kind of, dance around some stories. I just know Marvel likes playing the long game.
Oh, yeah.
And when build-ups happen, they like to take their time with it, which I think works a lot better. So whatever they're going to build with long-term, obviously they're going to have a lot of new toys in the toy box, so to speak.
Yeah, they are.
They can go in a lot of different directions. I think Secret Wars is probably a safe bet. I don't know exactly if we'd see Avengers versus X-Men right away.
Eventually.
It's possible. It's possible. It just depends on what the phase is going to be. But going back to tie up the segment, though, Captain Marvel definitely looked a lot better than I thought it was going to do.
Yeah.
Because anytime you're kind of dealing with the cosmic element of the Marvel Universe, there's already kind of a set expectation with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So to see Captain Marvel, and it looked like a good throwback as it's supposed to be set in the 90s.
Right.
It looked very well. I'm excited to see it. Final thoughts from around the panel.
I'm definitely excited to see it. It looks great. One of my kind of fears was, okay, it's set in the 90s. Is it going to be just your typical 90s, set in the 90s film where they're throwing every stereotype from the 90s at you just for humor's sake? It doesn't look like that. It looks like it's a film simply set in the 90s.
Hey, if this has a Beastie Boys soundtrack, I'm okay with it.
Well, I think we all are.
The fact we saw 9 Inch Nails on the T-shirt, I think that they're going to be in the movie. It's in there. At least their music is.
Right.
Well,
I'm excited.
My only thing is she better not save the galaxy to, as much as I threw out Beastie Boys, better not be sabotaged because Star Trek already did that one. Overall, all joking aside, I'm looking forward to it. I'm always a fan of if the movie looks interesting or not, you should at least see it first before you say it's complete garbage. And I think this looks like just the photos don't look like garbage. I think it's going to be a very good movie if handled well. But we'll have to wait and see for the first teaser to really get a good sense of the vibe they're going for.
Marvel hasn't let us down yet. I don't think they will now. Brie Larson definitely looked like Carol Danvers, and that's what I wanted to see on screen, and I think this movie is just going to knock it out of the park. But you've heard what we thought. Let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPHEE. What's your thoughts on Captain Marvel? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Coming back for segment number 2 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. And finally, the week is here. It's a big day, Friday, September 7th. Now, for different reasons.
Yep.
For Pad, it's because Spider-Man is coming out on PS4.
Yeah, it is.
Which we'll get to a little later in the show. But for myself and for the Brad Guy Signal, it is Iron Fist returns to Netflix.
Hey, same for me, too. I'm excited for it.
Right, but not as much as Spider-Man.
It's probably an even split right about now.
All right, fair enough. Now, we've gone through the final trailers. We've kind of dug up a little more information as we could. So we might be talking some spoilers. We might be talking some rumors. So we are giving you fair warning before we get into it. But as far as we've heard thus far, the season has been a vast improvement from season 1.
Which is a good thing.
Yes, because I couldn't even finish all of season 1. I think I got like halfway through it and then it was just like, okay, I'm watching the finale, so I understand where he ended up in the Defenders.
Yeah, which, the writing, I guess, was the biggest issue I had with season 1. I've said this before.
Yeah.
Because you went from, who is Danny Rand, the outsider looking in, then he was like millionaire playboy, and then he came back to outsider
So
looking in.
from who is Danny Rand to I am Danny Rand.
Yeah, it just was kind of just, not linear. It was just kind of like all over the place, which I think really hurt it because Iron Fist, unless you're a diehard comic fan, you really kind of needed to make that connection to the viewers, the mainstream ones.
Yeah.
That, this is on the same level as, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, that this is a major player in the Defenders universe, and you kind of need to see why, where I think it was just kind of all over the place.
Right. This isn't a guy who's just, going around mopping up simple, petty street crime. No, this guy's a serious player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I felt bad. It's like, I really liked Finn Jones's portrayal of him, and it's like just the writing and a lot of the side characters were just not good.
Yeah.
Like I didn't care for the villain at all. It was just like, okay, I feel bad for this guy right now.
I enjoyed some of the twists, but yeah, no, the writing for me was definitely a bit of a letdown simply because there was just too much going on. Slim it down, narrow it down, sure, introduce a few side things here and there, help along the plot, or because Finn Jones can't be in every scene. Let's be realistic, but they just had way too much going on.
They did, and I think that's kind of what hurt him, especially because Iron Fist doesn't have a very well-known rogues gallery.
No.
That I think for the first season out, if you really are into the Iron Fist mythos, you understood who it was, and you knew they were setting up a lot, more so than they did for season 1, like Climax there.
Right.
That going into season 2, they definitely learned from their mistakes thus far. We do know that Davos, a.k.a. Steel Serpent, is going to be the main villain.
Yep.
See, and that's the thing is he's like the only villain I really knew going into it. So when he wasn't showing up in season 1, I'm like, I have no idea. And the writing wasn't the greatest. I'm like, I have no idea who this guy's supposed to be.
Right, and I think they gave it a nice injection in the arm by putting Typhoid Mary in. I know Alice Eve is playing her.
Yep.
And if you know the Daredevil history with that character, you know that she is connected to the Kingpin at some point, and she is a antagonist in her own right. So they've really loaded up on the villains, or dare I say antagonists, for this season, which I think can only help.
Right, and it only makes sense because you look at what happened in season 1 and what followed in Defenders, where you had the Fist, kind of get, I don't know if I want to say taken down, broken apart.
The hand, you mean?
Yeah, the hand. Get broken apart, taken down, whatever you have. But, there's a definite power void with that.
There is, and we've discussed on previous episodes that when Jessica Jones came back, obviously she has her own issues to deal with after season 2. But with Luke Cage and how season 2 ended for him, that he is now running Harlem, and he is now stepped into, dare I say, the Kingpin role there.
Yep.
That Danny Rand, when he was doing the trailers for this, was saying, "This is my city. I need to protect my city." It's almost setting up like they're going to have their own somewhat civil war.
It sounds like he's trying to set up how the hand was in New York City's like infrastructure and its businesses, it sounds like he's gonna try to fill that void, but he wants obviously to probably do it better than the Hand. Like, he wants to do it as a force for good.
He definitely sounds like, if you go and watch the trailer that was posted a couple weeks ago, tune out everything else and listen to what he says towards the beginning, where it almost sounds like like you said, he's got a plan in mind of what he wants to do, but it's not going the way he wants it to, and he's so up. And this is a guy who's succeeded with a little bit of struggle at every level, that this is his first real hardship, his first real test, and he's not happy about it.
No, and I think that he probably thought things were going to go a lot smoother than they were expected to, especially with the Hand being defeated at this time.
Mm-hmm.
That there was, okay, well, that's our biggest threat. We can jump in and really clean up the city and save it. He's finding out that that's not the case.
So he almost sounds obsessed with it to a certain degree.
Yeah, which I think is a good take for the character. That you want somebody not to be on the level of Batman, where vengeance and revenge is like the primary focus for him. That he is, I am vengeance, I am the night.
Which I don't think he'll ever get that, because his parents weren't taken from him in the same way.
Right.
Batman's were. So like
his is like more of an honorable way of defending justice.
That's the way he was raised.
Yeah, it's just more, like I say, it's just more, an honor system, so to speak. It's just it's just a different setup than Batman, obviously. I think the closest Marvel has to that is Moon Knight, which I have not heard anything about Moon Knight appearing in a Netflix series thus far.
There's been talk, but nothing.
There's been a lot of hot rumors about that, but I have not found anything else to be true about that. And if there was, that would be amazing too, by the way. Just throwing that out there. But getting back to the trailer, though, I did like what I saw, and I think that the season has looked good thus far. And there was a little bit of news that they did throw in. I don't know if it's an Easter egg or this character is going to be really introduced, but there is a character by the name of Sam Chung that if you follow Daredevil comics, the most recent run by Charles Soule and Ron Garney, that is the vigilante known as Blind Spot.
Daredevil's sidekick.
Yes, that is going to be introduced in Iron Fist. So that being said, I guess what do you think is the overall expectation this is going to be for the season 2?
It definitely sounds like it's going to be a story where I almost don't know where it's going to go, because you look at how he's talking, what he's talking about. It seems like it's going to be a season where he's dealing with the ramifications of what happened and dealing with, okay, well, yes, you are very powerful and you can get a lot done and you are very wealthy. Wealth and power can only get you so far.
And you're only one man.
Yes.
So you're only one guy with the wealth and power. I don't really know either. Like, I just wanted... It sounds childish and petty, but it's like, I want to be better than season 1. I think it's going to do that. I just don't know really like what I'm expecting from it, again, because I didn't really enjoy season 1, so it's like my expectations are very low for it. I definitely want it to do good. I just don't know what that is that I'm looking for that it'll be good at.
What I'm wanting to see out of this is I want to see a definitive Iron Fist. I want to see the writing be a little more cleaner, that you know what his motivation is, you know where his struggle is, you know where the antagonists are, and they definitely have stepped their game up. I think the season 2 antagonists are going to be so much better, because especially if you know the character of Typhoid Mary, you know what she has done in the Daredevil comics and where she's gone outside of the Daredevil comics too in the MCU comics verse.
Yeah,
you know that she is a major player to be dealing with. You know Davos, if you read the Immortal Iron Fist run, you know what he is really capable of doing, and it's going to be a great run if they follow a lot of that source material for the show. I really just want to see them, one, develop Danny Rand into his own standalone hero. 2, I want to see the Daughters of the Dragon, Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, get represented enough that there is no way we cannot not have a Daughters of the Dragon Netflix show. I want that show.
It could happen.
And 3, I want it to be set up that whatever they're going to do for Defenders 2, whenever that's going to be,
if they go that way,
if they decide to go that route, I don't want to see the Shadowlands storyline where it's kind of like a character that's part of the Defenders universe becomes the Kingpin and gets caught up with the Hand, and it gets really messy and really out of control. And I really would like to see them, I don't know.
So you don't want to see that?
I don't want to see Shadowlands. I feel
like out of all of them, it'd probably, in that scenario, just as he's route, probably I could see Danny being the one to do it. More from a standpoint, like kind of like the Fallen hero, like he doesn't feel like he can't do enough as it is. He has to get his hands dirty a little.
Right.
Well, I can't see. I know you said Luke's now in charge of Harlem. I just can't see Luke Cage becoming that guy.
No, that's why I say I think it's gonna be like a kind of a power vacuum, and they're all gonna be fighting for control. And like I say, I think the hand is gonna come back at some point. My gut instinct is Daredevil season 3 is gonna be born again. I've said this many times, and I think that obviously when you have the Kingpin involved there, depending on how they wrap that story up, if the Kingpin is not going to be the major villain for season 2 of Defenders 2, then who is going to step in that role? If it's going to be the hand again, then they could go the Shadowland route. I really hope they don't, because I don't think that was a good story to base off of.
No.
But like I said, I just wanted them to make sure that there is no reason they can't give the Daughters of the Dragon their own show. I think that they're well deserving of their own show. And if they can spin it off that they can do something and develop, maybe some more characters into the MCU Netflix universe, I'd like to see that too. I know this is only 10 episodes, so I think it's going to help being a shorter season.
Yeah.
And I think that this is going to be the breakout time for Danny Rand in the MCU. I think that there's a lot of different ways they can go, but I think a shorter season is going to help them.
I was going to say a shorter season generally means there's going to be less filler. It's going to be much more fast-paced, kind of like how Game of Thrones, these last season 7 and now season 8, they're only 7 episodes because they said if they dragged it out to 10, it was just going to be filler. Yeah, so it's like, okay, cutting 3 episodes out, now 10 episodes, obviously means they have a story and they want to tell it, and they don't need 13 episodes to do it.
No, because they can tell a great story in 10 instead of trying to drag it to 13. Go for it.
Yeah.
There's no purpose to stretch it out. If the story is great, it'll stand on its own for 10. And then they go right into Daredevil season 3 would be my guesstimation. It's either going to be that or Punisher season 2, but I think it's going to be Daredevil season 3.
I can see Daredevil. If Jessica Jones season 2, Luke Cage season 2, Iron Fist season 2, it's or season 3 for Jessica Jones. Season 3 of Daredevil, it's like get all the Defenders their post Defenders season out.
Yeah, I think that's the only natural progression for it. But in closing, I think I'm super excited for it. I think I have very high expectations for Iron Fist season 2. Pat, you got anything?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I can't wait to watch the whole series and see where it ends up.
I'm the same way. I think at this point it comes down to we just got to see it, and I'm hoping it is good. I would love to sit there and it's like, yeah, those were great 10 episodes, and that's what I'm hoping for.
Absolutely. If they can pull off the magic they did in the Immortal Iron Fist run, I'm all for it. If they can spin it off into a Daughters of the Dragon series, I'm all for that too. And if they can just make a quality Netflix show, that's a triple factor for me. Let us know what you think, though. Hashtag ODPHEE. What's your thoughts on Iron Fist Season 2 before it drops? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Rob Kacharik from the band 607, Autopilot Off, and Walking Distance, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for segment number 3 on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and there was some news that broke that for the panel, this means a lot to us. Because we are just shy of a month away.
Just under a month.
A month from New York Comic Con.
Oh, baby.
Now, that is kind of like our home turf, so to speak.
Yes.
I've been there many years. Pat has been there for 3 years, I believe.
3 years, yep.
Bry Guy is going for his second year. We're going with a big crew down there. It is always a great time down there. Shout out to everybody at Reed Pop and everybody involved with NYCC because it is the party of the year for us. So they announced their panel schedule. Pat, what do you got for us?
Well, we should note this isn't the full panel schedule because there's some notable shows that have been there the last couple of years that are noticeably absent. So I think while we're reading off some of the big ones from the main stage, the Hammerstein Ballroom, and then the Hulu stage at Madison Square Garden, this isn't everything. Stuff's going to get added as we go on. But so looking at first from the big events or the stuff that caught our eye on the main stage, looking at Friday, October 5th, on the main stage, you've got the Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman 25th Anniversary Reunion panel with Terry Hatcher and Dean Cain.
This is amazing for me. Like, I remember watching that show. And
see, I never did. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, though.
I remember bits and pieces, but it was from when I was young, and I don't really remember much from that time.
See, this was way before the CW. I'm dating myself. I don't mind saying this. This was way before the CW Arrowverse. And this was a time where it was really kind of hard to think of, okay, Superman's coming back on TV.
Yeah.
And Dean Cain was the definitive Superman. Like, he has that, just the wholesome, farm boy from Kansas being the, fish out of water metropolis, mystique that is Superman. And Terry Hatcher was a perfect Lois Lane to him. And just to see how they interacted, it was great. I mean, like I say, it wasn't anything, super crazy blockbusters. Like, you didn't have Doomsday. You didn't have, Darkseid. You didn't really deal with that. But it had enough action and adventure and drama that, I mean, it was great for its time. Yeah. And I was a very big fan of it, so I'm definitely going to try hitting that.
No, yeah, it should be interesting. And I'm guessing you might see more actors or actresses from the show show up. You never know. Moving on, that same day, again on the main stage, you've got the Boy Meets World 25th Anniversary Reunion panel with Ben Savage, Will Friedle, and Danielle Fishel.
Another great show. Another, what year is this again? 25?
25th Anniversary. 25th Anniversary from when it started, not when it ended.
Right. This is still this is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
It's been 25 years. Yes, I know. I'm so dating myself.
I would say... Another one, haven't seen it. I know I'm not really contributing here.
I know I can say this, and I know you'll agree with me. It's one of those shows that, like, you see a rerun of it on TV. Like, it doesn't matter what season, early in the show, later in the show. If there's nothing else on, or even if there is something else on, usually it's on, like, mid-afternoon, late afternoon. There's a rerun of it, I'm usually stopping to watch.
Yeah, it's just a very old-school family sitcom in its own right. It just, a young boy and his friends growing up, and... it's just classic. You get the chance to watch it, you got to check it out.
It's one of those shows that, like, a lot of people grew up with, and it taught you a lot of life lessons.
Absolutely.
Moving on, again, on the main stage, again, October 5th, you've got DC All-Stars. Now, this one is from New York Comic Con's website. Some of DC's most brilliant and creative minds have been gathered to give comic book fans insight to how they make the DC Universe a non-stop e-ticket thrill ride with every issue. Drop in on this panel and check out what they've got in store next. So this sounds like this is if you're a big DC guy.
Yeah, this is the one that you want to go to.
This has Bry Guy Signal written all over it.
I'm going to be in the door.
Yes, and I mean, for this, there's so many books they have coming out. I know the Black Label is supposed to be dropping.
I was going to say, that's first few, I think Batman Damned is the first series they're doing. That drops this month.
Well, and I know Brian Michael Bendis is going to be there. Jeff Johns is going to be there. Tom King's going to be there. So it's going to be a who's who of DC writers.
Yeah, and with Tom King, his current Batman run is amazing, and then also his new series, Heroes in Crisis, is going to be coming out this month, right?
Yes, and I will already say Heroes in Crisis is going to be the book that everybody's going to be talking about. I'm going to make that early prediction.
It's meant to be like not so much a superhero one. It's meant to really like strip away the super part and just make these people human.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's meant to really be a very relatable story from what I understand.
And that's one thing King has just absolutely crushed it on Batman.
Oh yeah, he's humanized Batman easily.
Yeah, and it just is, like I said, even the Mr. Freeze story that just wrapped up or is wrapping up is just, it's incredible to just see how he put the man back in the bat. And I know I say this coming from the biggest Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo fan of the fear of the bat being put into Bruce Wayne. I didn't think it could be topped. And this one is like 1A, 1B with me.
Because the thing is, it's very easy to write, but then we'll get back to NYCC. It's very easy to look at Batman and think, oh, he's just a Mary Sue. He's just like dark, brooding, beats everyone up. And it's like you realize if he's handled well, like Snyder and Capullo did, well, Capullo drew, and Tom King's written, it's like, it shows it's like this guy has many levels to him, and he has feelings. He's a human being.
And to think about it, too, because, I mean, with how long Batman's been around for, to see just like an original, fresh take on him that we're seeing currently.
I would say Detective Comics is going to be the next one to hit 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy thing to just comprehend. But it's going to be amazing, too, and especially, I believe King's Mr. Miracle is going to be closing around that time, too.
Yep.
Which is another great series to check out if you have not already. DC's going to have a lot going on at that panel, so that's going to be one definitely go check out. And I would imagine we'll hear a little bit more about Doomsday Clock at that one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Probably. Moving on to Saturday, again, main stage, they've got the Twisted Tunes panel. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with this, I highly recommend, like I cannot recommend you YouTube this. Essentially what it is it's
you should see his fanboy eyes right now. Like, take his word for it, people.
Yes.
This is a series that they've got a YouTube channel. You could YouTube Twisted Tunes. It's with a Z. Basically what they do is they get a bunch of cartoon voice actors, and for, an hour plus, they will sit there and in their cartoon voices read from the script of a movie. They've done a couple Star Wars movies. They've done a couple Harry Potter movies. I believe last year at New York Comic Con they did Ghostbusters. Well, this year they're bringing in Steve Blum, Phil Lamar, and Jeanette Varney, among others, to do a live reading of the movie Clue.
And you might not know their names, but those people, like, if you looked at their IMDb list, you're going to know their voices.
I'll say Phil Lamar's Samurai Jack.
John Stewart in the Green Lantern,
Yep.
Green Lantern Justice League.
Richard Horvitz is going to be there. He, of course, played Invader Zim back on Nickelodeon days. Jeanette Varney, of course, did Korra for the Legend of Korra series.
Steve Blum has done a lot of anime dubs, including the one and only Spike Spiegel. He's also done in Star Wars Rebels.
His IMDb list is longer than a lot of actors' IMDb list.
Yeah.
It's not joking.
And, I mean, you're going to hear so many voices in that panel. Like, you might not know the faces, but the minute you just close your eyes and hear the voices, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I know who this is.
Well, I'd say the funniest one I can think of is when they did a reading for A New Hope, and they had Jim Cummings, who voices Winnie the Pooh. And it was the opening scene of the movie where Darth Vader first shows up on the ship, and Darth Vader is being voiced by Winnie the Pooh.
Isn't this? Yeah. Aren't these the guys? I think you sent me a link for. Aren't they the ones who did Seth Green as Chris Griffin for episode 3?
Yeah,
and he's like, it's like you turned her against me.
Yeah,
it's like Chris Griffin trying to be Anakin Skywalker. It's hilarious.
Oh, it's great.
It'll be a fun time at that panel, no doubt.
Yep.
I might check it out this year with you.
Yeah. Moving on to the Hammerstein Ballroom. This one on Thursday, October 4th. They are doing in conversation with Robert Kirkman, who is going to discuss his work in comics, TV, and film. So if you're a fan of Walking Dead, any of his comic runs, or anything he's working on, this definitely seems like the panel for you.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. I mean, I know The Walking Dead, I don't think they've officially announced they're doing a panel yet, but I would say...
That's one of the ones noticeably absent thus far.
Yeah, thus far, but I would imagine they would do one in New York.
From what you guys have always said, like, that's like their big thing. Like, you have... When you have a line of people the night before waiting to get into the panel, it's like, okay, you're a fool if you don't take advantage of that.
I'll say what Marvel is to San Diego Comic-Con, Walking Dead is to New York Comic-Con.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always been the biggest panel, and especially it's right around when they come back for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously with season 9 coming out, there's a lot of stories going around because obviously with Andrew Lincoln leaving the show.
Right.
Everybody's trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen? How's this going to play out?
The season's premiering that month, so.
Yeah, I would fully bank that they would probably be doing a panel. If not, Kirkman will definitely be talking about Walking Dead amongst his other projects.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, again, in the Hammerstein Ballroom, also on Thursday, they're doing a panel for the upcoming DreamWorks Netflix series, She-Ra. Yes, She-Ra, inspired by the popular 80s series, bringing it back for a TV series, and they're going to bring on 3 of the executive producers and give you a first look at the highly anticipated series.
That's interesting. I mean, I did not even actually hear about this until Pat brought it up.
I would say he told me right before we started recording, and I'm like, She-Ra, as in She-Ra and He-Man? That She-Ra?
But you know what? With what Netflix and DreamWorks has done with Voltron, that I would say if you're a fan of He-Man and She-Ra, I have full faith in them because they have done an exceptional job with Voltron that I fully think this one's going to knock it out of the park, too.
Yeah. Moving on to Friday in the Hammerstein Ballroom. Funny you mentioned Voltron. They're having a Voltron panel at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
You know what? I know I haven't been talking about Voltron on the show, and I should be because this past season has been one of the best ones they've done.
Ooh, and I'm reading the description here. Join executive producers Joaquim Dos Santos and Lauren Montgomery, story editor Josh Hamilton, and voice actors as they look back on 7 seasons of DreamWorks' Voltron Legacy Defender and offer a sneak peek inside the final chapter arriving on Netflix later this year.
That makes sense because they have really stretched like the story and mythos of Voltron out. Like, it is so well done. I can't even speak highly enough about it.
I just take their word for it because I haven't seen it. So
yeah, but it's something that you could jump into easily because the seasons are very short. Like, they're not, they're about like 9 episodes, give or take. And the story moves very quickly. They tie in a lot of stuff. So you'll see stuff in season 1 that they'll tie back into, in the later seasons. Yeah. And just where they go with the story is really fascinating. And just to see how they've grown the characters and really, you kind of have the sense that, unfortunately, the series is going to end at some point.
Right.
But they're doing it justice. And it's like one of those that you're sitting there just like, this is something worth watching. I mean, I'm going to definitely try getting down to that panel without question. But Voltron on Netflix, if you haven't watched yet, you need to get on board ASAP.
Then closing out that night in the Hammerstein Ballroom, you've got TARDIS Time with Matt Smith, David Tennant, and Alex Kingston. Of course, the 11th 10th Doctor, respectively, and River Song. Now, the thing to note, this is a ticketed event, so you do have to buy tickets separately to attend this panel. This isn't one that you can just show up with your badge and get in. But if you're a Doctor Who fan, this is, to me, a can't-miss opportunity, because I can't think of the last time outside of that 50th anniversary special where you had the two of Matt Smith and David Tennant together, let alone you had it in River Song.
I was going to say, I'm very tempted to figure, does it say how much the tickets are?
Tickets range, it says on the website, from $19 to $249.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I'd love to do that, because I love David Tennant. He was my favorite Doctor of the reboot series. I've never seen the originals, but I wasn't as huge of a Matt Smith fan. I didn't hate him, but he didn't do anything for me like Tennant did. But the 50th anniversary special, I loved it. The two of them, when they were on screen together, I was laughing, and then it was there were parts when they just got super serious. The two of them were great together.
Yeah, no, David Tennant is definitely, of the reboot era, my favorite Doctor, and I wasn't watching it as it came out. I was kind of playing catch up a couple years ago. And once David Tennant left, I figured I don't care who replaces him, they're not going to be as good. It started off that way, but Matt Smith grew on me. He's my second favorite. He's a very close second favorite. He was very good in his own right, but to me, David Tennant is definitely still my first favorite.
I would say that's my problem, is I've only seen his first season, and it really didn't do anything for me.
Right.
No, I'm definitely a Tennant guy. I think he was the best Doctor. I do like Matt Smith, though. Capaldi grew on me.
Yes.
It should be known that around this time, too, is the season premiere of the newest Doctor Who.
Right, that just came out today as we're recording. The next season of Doctor Who is premiering on Sunday, October 7th.
Yes, so I think there'll be a lot of Doctor Who.
So we get back from Comic-Con and we get time to watch the premiere.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot going on with Doctor Who at Con this year, I feel.
Yeah, with Capaldi, in my opinion, I didn't really see all of his stuff, and my brother actually put it best. He said, and I think you and I talked about this and you sort of agree, Capaldi didn't always have the best stories for his seasons, but it wasn't until his later ones that he really got good, and then it's okay, he's leaving.
Yeah, it was something that I not that it was bad by any means. I don't want to say.
Oh no, I wasn't saying it was bad. Just it wasn't great. Like
it didn't connect with me as much as Tennant's run did. Mm-hmm. I guess that's where I kind of base all my Doctors on. That it's Tennant was when somebody says Doctor Who, he's the first person I think of.
Yeah.
So and Matt Smith's run was great too. It was different in its own sense, and Capaldi definitely went somewhere with his run in Doctor Who. It wasn't bad by any means, but like I said, it didn't really connect with me as much as David Tennant's run. And I'll be definitely interested to see what Jodie Whittaker is going to bring to this role too. I'm super excited about this.
I loved
one.
her in Broadchurch. I mean, it's when she was announced, I'm okay, that'll be pretty cool to see her.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. And like I said, I just have a gut feeling that maybe we'll see some more Doctors at that panel. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Maybe.
Never know. Moving over to the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, looking at October 5th, they've got a Mortal Engines panel. Now, you may be asking yourself, what the heck is Mortal Engines? Well, that would be the latest film from mega director Peter Jackson, also starring Hugo Weaving.
Interesting.
You might know that duo from that minor trilogy they did back in the early 2000s. Lord of the Rings.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Maybe once or twice.
So you got that going on.
Is Hugo Weaving going to hurt himself filming this movie? Do we learn about that later?
Presumably. But this to me is going to be an interesting panel simply because you've got Peter Jackson there, who of course directed Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I get a hunch if they start up a Q&A session, there's going to be more than one question about those movies.
I could imagine.
And Peter Jackson, if you know anything about him, is not one to shy away from questions of that sort.
No, and I mean,
he's a complete fanboy of Tolkien's work,
and that's what makes panels great. If you've never gone to a con, this is why you go, because you get a chance to talk to the creators, the actors, the writers, the artists. You get to talk to everybody, and you get to ask those questions that you've always wanted to ask, and you just see a lot of them are just as much fans as we are.
And that's the thing. It's and they're usually up there, we got the chance to write this stuff that we grew up reading. It's a good example. I don't know if he's going to be there. So far, we know he won't. Rob Liefeld, if you watch any of his interviews, he is he's the creator of Deadpool. He's the biggest fanboy you're probably going to see. And it's he wanted to write comics when he grew up, and then he was so happy they took off.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
he's very appreciative of his fans from what I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just the greatest thing about panels. Pat, anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Moving also to October 5th on the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, Marvel's Runaways is getting a panel down there, showing off some never-before-seen footage and getting a look forward to what's coming in the highly anticipated Season 2 coming to Hulu.
Runaways is definitely a great book. It's definitely different than what you expect from like you hear an MCU book.
Right.
But it's written very well, and it's a fun watch too. Mm-hmm. To see like how this group of heroes coming of age and just seeing where they go with it too. It's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, moving to October 6th, also at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, there will be a panel for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, an inside look. Description of this is, quote, cast and filmmakers from Sony Picture Entertainment's highly anticipated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, from the creative minds of Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, will give audiences an inside look at the limitless possibilities of the Spider-Verse. Where more than one can wear the mask. On Saturday, October 6th, 11:30 a.m., the film is presented in association with Marvel. Noticeably, speakers to be determined.
You know what? I'm super excited about this film when it comes out. The animation, anytime you can put Peter Parker and Miles Morales in the same film, I'm there. And I think they're going to have Ghost Spider in it as well. The formerly known Spider-Gwen. Mm-hmm. So anytime you can kind of do that, as long as it's not clones everywhere, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let's not go the clone conspiracy.
Yeah, let's just avoid that at all.
If
but
Ben Reilly drops, it's like, okay, this is gonna get ugly.
Yes, but you know, when you have Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Gwen Stacy, aka Ghost Spider, I'm there all day.
Yep, and then closing out the notable ones at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, Rooster Teeth, of course, the company famously behind the Red vs. Blue series, one of the longest, if not the longest running internet show out there, has a panel for their Ruby series and their upcoming Genlock series.
Can I just say how crazy it is of how Rooster Teeth literally just started with people making a Halo fan film in the Forge editor.
Yeah.
And that's literally how it started, and now they're this massive company producing shows and anime.
Oh yeah, their shows are top notch. I can't recommend them enough. But the crazy thing, especially I'm really excited for anything to do with Ruby, because Ruby is one of their better shows. I thoroughly enjoy that. But Genlock is a series coming out that it's flying under a lot of radars, despite the cast they've got tied to this thing. Which every time they make an announcement for the show, I'm like, holy moly! First they announced Michael B. Jordan would be on the show.
Okay, Creed from the Creed movies.
Yeah,
Killmonger from Black Panther.
Yeah, but that's not all. Also in the show, Dakota Fanning.
Seriously?
But yeah. Oh, you thought I was done?
Never mind. We'll just step back and give you the mic here.
David Tennant. David Tennant's on this thing. You got Monica Rial. It's just they started announcing people. I'm like, holy moly! Wait, this is Rooster Teeth. This like you said, this is the internet company that started doing Halo fan films off an editor in the game. Where are we?
It's amazing to see how far it can go. It just proves that if you got an idea and you
just stick with it, I have a feeling those guys did not think they were going to end up here when they started doing
no.
that. They were probably just a bunch of friends who I can't speak for them, but I can guess they're probably just a bunch of friends who was like, hey, let's do something really fun and put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then it exploded, and it's like they just stuck with it.
So yeah, they're definitely going to give you some sneak peeks for Ruby Volume 6 and, first looks at Genlock, which just off the casting alone is going to be amazing. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But that kind of rounds out, so far, the big panels we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that for what's been announced already, it's going to be a great weekend down in New York Comic Con, without question. That's something for everybody too.
Yes.
That they've announced this far. I know they haven't officially announced like a Walking Dead panel or a Marvel's Netflix one, which I'm my unofficial ODPH guess is Daredevil season 3. There hasn't been like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. one. I know S.H.I.E.L.D. is coming back in the summer.
So there is that one. There is a chance it might not show.
I would say Runaways being there kind of lends me towards there might not be anything S.H.I.E.L.D.
But you got to remember last year they did Runaways and
That's
S.H.I.E.L.D.
True.
So
That's true.
I think if anything, they would probably do a S.H.I.E.L.D. one to be like a farewell to the fans.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because you said they announced S.H.I.E.L.D. at New York Comic Con.
Right.
That's where it started.
Yeah. So I think in taking that into perspective, I think that they would probably do a farewell to the fans.
I think if they don't do something this year, with it coming back in summer next year, if they don't do something this year, I think you can bank on there being something next year where it's a thank you to the fans, show off maybe one big supercut of bloopers from the entire series, and then just open the floor. You want to ask us anything about the show? Go for it.
And then who knows? Because by that time, the Disney streaming service should be starting to get up and running.
If it's not up and running already.
And then who knows if S.H.I.E.L.D. maybe is going to leave ABC and go there? We don't know. I'm just going to throw these ideas out. Either way, New York Comic Con is fastly approaching. It is going to be the biggest geek festival, dare I say,
on the East Coast.
But you know what? It's always, always, always a fun time. Whether you're cosplaying, whether you're there just to get some autographs, whether you're there for the panels.
Or heck, if you're literally just walking around the Javits with your friends.
Absolutely.
That in itself is just fun.
Everybody is having a good time. Everybody's being super enjoying the moment that is New York Comic Con. Folks, we can't talk enough about it. We're going to be devoting a whole episode before we go down, giving you the final preview for New York Comic Con, a little later in September. But, for right now, what is your thoughts on New York Comic Con's panels? We're definitely excited, as you can tell, but we want to know what you think. Hashtag ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
2, 3, 4. Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for the final segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition with those one-shots. Pat, why don't you start us off?
Well, a couple little quick things before I get into something a little bit bigger. First off, Destiny 2's third DLC came out Tuesday this week, Forsaken. Been digging into it a little bit, looking real forward to digging some more into it, but that, of course, takes a back seat to Spider-Man that's coming out later this week, where they did announce their first bit of DLC that's coming out. I believe it's in October, and focusing around Black Cat. So I'm definitely interested to see what they do with that and where they bring her in. Moving on, of course, but there was some other big news with a Netflix series. I know Brad Guy is definitely into this as I am and excited for this as I am. The long-rumored, long unofficially announced Witcher series they've supposedly been developing on. It's happening. They've got a main role played by one Henry Cavill.
As in Superman?
As in Superman.
And I could not be happier with this. He has said in numerous interviews that he would have loved to play Geralt. He's familiar with the books that these are based on. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the guy's a total nerd. And I mean that in a good way. Like,
in a literal way.
Yeah, he when he got the call that he was Superman, he missed it because he was busy playing a World of Warcraft raid mission.
Yeah,
that is incredible.
Yeah,
it's so the fact like he's familiar with the books and he is showing interest in wanting to be him. That is always a plus when like the actor's fully behind wanting to do this role.
Yeah, and of course they're mega popular books, mega popular game series. Nothing really known about where or when it's taking place, I think.
What I saw was supposedly it's going to follow the books.
Okay.
Now, I haven't read all of them. I read a few of the short stories that led into the novels, but are still part of the same universe. The books are basically the prequel to the games. Like, if you didn't read the books and just played Witcher 1, the books took place before the first game started.
Okay.
But they're part of like the same storyline, sort of.
Right, and it was announced on Netflix's official Facebook page that it will be an 8-episode season.
Supposedly, this is meant to be their Game of Thrones, which I hope it is.
Having played the game, real recently, as in like a couple weeks ago, this definitely, with the right writers, the right producers, the right everything behind the scenes, this has the potential to be that.
I'd say it's been out for, I think, a few years now. If you haven't played it, really look up Witcher 3. It is probably one of the best RPGs and video games in general I've ever played.
Oh, yeah.
It's a game that you can just spend hours playing, and I love those. And it's not like you're spending hours grinding through it. I want to put myself through hours of this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something. I'm not the biggest, Witcher fan there is. I mean, I played it a couple times. It's all right for me. But I'm definitely excited to see what Henry Cavill's doing because I've always been a big fan of his, obviously being in the DC EU, a.k.a. Worlds of DC. And I think he's going to bring a lot to that show.
I got my Witcher medallion sitting on my nightstand when the show drops.
There you go.
Oh, he's going to be primed and ready to go for that. Braga, what you got?
Well, nothing really in the video game aspect, but definitely another show online, or not online, just a streaming service. Amazon this past Friday dropped the long-awaited Tom Clancy Jack Ryan starring John Krasinski.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Jim Halpert from The Office. That's how I just know him.
Yeah. I think that's true for a lot of people.
It's 8 episodes. I watched it, and I was already on board for season 2, which supposedly has already been greenlit. That was
okay.
before the show dropped.
That's usually a good sign.
Yes.
It was great. I was a little nervous, again, seeing Jim Halpert as a CIA agent.
Right.
But he does a great job at pulling off the Tom Clancy character from the standpoint. He's a very, like, he pulls off the, I'm a normal guy. I'm a CIA analyst who's thrown into this unexpected situation, and he really does handle it like he's always, when he's thrown in these intense situations, he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Right.
Very interesting to see. You know, like I say, I always see him as Jim Halpert from The Office, so to see him take on a different role. And
what did it for me was I was nervous, but after watching his movie The Quiet Place, I'm like, okay, he has a wider range that he can act in. And then I was like a little more like, okay, he can do this. But there were a few times, I won't lie, when he was like getting yelled at by his boss. I'm expecting him to look at the camera, and you see Dwight like grinning in the background.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think he would play a perfect Reed Richards in the MCU.
Ooh, I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that.
If
I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four fan. Honestly, if a movie drops, I probably don't know if I'll go see it premiere night. If he's in it, I'll probably go see it.
Yeah, I could definitely see him and Emily Blunt as Invisible Woman and Reed Richards, respectively. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Hopefully it sticks. For me, my one shot, there was a teaser, dare I say, a link or a teaser art rather, for a new Guardians of the Galaxy book that Marvel was releasing. This is coming off IGN. And the picture has literally every single cosmic hero.
Geez. He's showing us the picture.
In the MCU comic verse. And we are talking the old school Guardians of the Galaxy. We are talking
like Valentine's run.
Yeah, we're talking.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yes, we're talking like the original Yondu, Martin X, Vance Astro, not the one from the New Warriors. Yes, I am going to go complete fanboy on this one. We are talking the old school Guardians of the Galaxy. You see the Starjammers in there. You see the Imperial Guard from the Shi'ar. You see the current run from the Guardians of the Galaxy. You see Adam Warlock. You even see Galactus.
I was going to say the big one was Galactus is standing all behind these guys.
I kind of want him to be in it just because reasons.
Yeah, you see him in there. Well, I wouldn't doubt it because if you look at like what they're doing in Justice League Odyssey, Darkseid's on a team.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking.
Darkseid is on a Justice League team. Let's bring this down perspective.
Darkseid is bringing justice.
Yes, well he's bringing something.
He's
I don't know,
the big old. He invades Earth and it's just like, I am Darkseid, ruler of Apocalypse. I am your conqueror. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna work with the Justice League now. It's like, what?
Yeah. I'm not buying that. That's a whole nother topic. I won't even get into that. But looking at the teaser art for this, though, I mean, it has everybody: Adam Warlock, Silver Surfer, even the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Which, if you have not read that, you need to check out.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, as a DC fan, Marvel's making good changes with their comics from what I've seen. I'm waiting for the trade paperback to come out, but I read the first 3 issues of Jason Aaron's Avengers run, and it was spot on. And from what I understand, a lot of their other series that they got going, they're doing the same thing. They really are going back to like, okay, let's not try to base these off our movies. Let's just write Marvel Comics as Marvel Comics should be.
Yeah, I mean, ever since they made the switch at editor-in-chief, they've really made a step to really get the focus back on the books.
Which is good because, in my opinion, and not just because I like DC, DC really was dominating the comics between the two companies. Like, I felt like DC had a much after Rebirth, DC was really like, okay, this is what we're doing with our comics, and they really got their act together. Because for the most part, the New 52 was not liked.
No, it definitely wasn't. And I think if you look at how Marvel's been doing, I mean, their Venom run has been just out of control. You know, like just whatever you take as the mythos of Venom, they've completely gone 360 with it.
Ooh, okay.
I mean, they've gone in a different direction where they're tying it into, you know, everything from like the cosmic, you know, Thor and Odin and just like some different directions there to where they've gone where they're saying that, you know, Peter Parker was not the first person to have the Venom symbiote. That they're dating it back to there was a secret group led by Nick Fury that had them and were like almost like the original super soldiers after Captain America. Like it's just like this wild thing that like I highly recommend checking out because I can't do it justice.
Right.
Because you'll just see it and they're just adding more to it. That's just not
good.
It's not just a simple Venom.
Well, it's like you say, when in doubt, paint it black, just like the Rolling Stones told you.
Yes, absolutely. But going into it though, Marvel has just really stepped up their game with their books lately. I mean, the Cosmic Ghost Rider, if you don't know that whole story, is one of the wildest and most imaginative stories in recent memory.
It's real. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. The Amazing Spider-Man Pad's been talking about every week on the show.
Good.
They've been doing so much quality work. So, and then looking at like where they're going to go with the Guardians of the Galaxy, because there currently isn't a book right now. There is a spin-off book as Guardians of the Galaxy coming out, and that's going to be a whole different ball of wax. But this one, especially with all the drama that's been going on with the film, and we don't even need to get into that.
No, that's
it's just to see where they're going to go with this version of the team is going to be interesting. I mean, personally, I just want to see Beta Ray Bill on the show, or on the book, rather.
Beta Ray Bill and Galactus. Book it.
Yeah, just make that happen. And obviously, wherever they're going to go with it is going to be interesting. I know they have the hashtag Who Are the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be really cool if they decided to go with a fan vote for that.
They very well could.
Yeah, because I'd like to see them like categorize it, because I really want to see some old school faces appear.
Right.
So it just wouldn't be like the current, obviously, movie run. Because I mean, as great as they are, switch it up, do something a little crazy with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I would love to see old school Yondu back, like full on, not a mercenary, like no, like he is in the movie, like no, he's a warrior with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be definitely interesting to see if they decide to get a mix from like the original '90s run to the current run, and just like throw some different characters in the mix. I think it'd be cool, but it's gonna be worth checking out when it comes out. That's all we got for this week. So for the Bright Guy Signal,
Later, all.
for Padawan J,
Thank you.
I'm your host Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.